Chapter 8 Noel, Noel. "This Christmas," Father said to them, "there is a war, and I am poorer. You'll have to do a lot for yourselves. You'll have presents, of course, but perhaps not such fine ones as before. Try to remember how lucky we are, a family living together in a nice, funny old house, a family that's fortunate enough to have light and food and warmth and no fear of anything." "That's quite a lot," Rush said afterward. "I've been reading the papers, and I know that that's quite a lot for us to have." So this year they made Christmas for themselves, and it was fun. More fun, really, than buying things ready-made. Willie and Rush investigated the woods and returned with a Christmas tree and a Yule log. With much prickling and ouching, Randy and Mona made wreaths for the windows out of wild ground pine, evergreen, and holly. The old scarred Christmas tree baubles were resurrected from their box, and in addition Oliver strung popcorn chains and made many paste-blurred links of gold and silver paper. And there were bright woolen tassels of Mona's devising, sewn with Mrs. Oliphant's sparkling sequins. The tree was beautiful when it was trimmed, the handsomest tree they'd ever had, the Melendys thought. Christmas looked promising in spite of what Father had said. An enormous box had arrived from Mrs. Oliphant, and Oliver happened to know that there were other mysterious boxes on the top shelf of the linen closet. Cuffy spent the day before Christmas locked in the kitchen. Nobody was even allowed to look in at the windows. A dazzling fragrance breathed itself through the crack under the door and filled the whole house with frankincense and myrrh. This year the children had made most of their presents. Mona had knitted scarves for everyone out of the most brilliant colors she could find. They were like woolen rainbows. Randy had made a big sachet for Mona and another for Mrs. Oliphant, a pincushion stuffed with milkweed for Cuffy, a blotter holder for Father's desk, and for Oliver she filled a scrapbook with cut-out pictures of planes, battleships, submarines, and tanks. For Rush, she had saved enough out of her allowances to buy a record he'd wanted for a long time. Boys are so hard to make things for, and she wanted to give him something he'd really like. Rush had composed a piece of music for everyone, a sonata for Father called Opus 1, a sonata for Mrs. Oliphant called Opus 2. The rest of them had regular names. Cuffy's was called Music to Cook By. Mona's was Incidental Music for Macbeth. Randy's was Funeral March in F. She loved funeral marches. And Oliver's was a military march, which he didn't appreciate. To Willie, who had often displayed a wistful interest in music, Rush gave a recorder and some easy tunes to play on it. Thereafter mournful tootlings could be heard coming faintly from the stable at odd hours of the day and night when Willie wasn't working. Oliver made thick, wobbly clay ashtrays for everyone, though nobody smoked except Father. "They can use 'em for pins and elastic bands and things," Oliver told himself comfortably. To compensate for the humbleness of their gifts, they took great pains with the wrappings, especially Mona, who spent literally days rustling and crackling about among crepe and tissue papers, and who was always trailing bits of string and red ribbon. "Shh," Rush said to Randy. "Don't tell anybody, but I think she's building a nest." On Christmas Eve they sang carols, all standing around the piano in the living room. The tree glittered dimly in its shadowed corner. It was asleep, waiting, and under its protecting boughs it hid a rich harvest of unopened presents. Oliver's sock hung empty from the mantel. The rest of them had given up stockings this Christmas. And the Yule log in the fireplace was waiting for tomorrow, too. They sang God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, and Silent Night, and Adeste Fidelis, and O Little Town of Bethlehem, and Noel, Noel, and lots of others. Randy's favorite was We Three Kings of Orient Are. As she sang its minor air, she could almost see the three kings riding on 3 tall camels, their glorious robes and glorious gifts all silvered and dazzling under the light of the star. "Look!" cried Mona when they had finished. It's snowing! How perfect! Snow on Christmas Eve. Please, please, let it last until tomorrow. When she was ready for bed, Randy leaned out the window, far out, so that she could feel the little cold, sharp flakes against her cheek. They glittered like tinsel in the light from the window. She could hear the brook murmuring under the ice, and the spruce branches sighing and sighing under the snow. Silent night, holy night, Randy sang in an exalted voice, and Cuffy pulled her in by the back of her pajamas. You want to catch your death? Pile into bed now. It's almost 9. Randy threw her arms around Cuffy's neck. Oh, I love Christmas Eve, she cried. Even better than Christmas I love it, because everything's just about to happen. Influenza's about to happen if you don't get into bed with them windows open, growled Cuffy, giving her a kiss and a shove both at once. Randy went to bed, but not to sleep. For a long time she lay listening to the cold whisper of the snow. Christmas, 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 it was saying. She couldn't help wishing that she believed in Santa Claus again. On such a night as this, one could almost hear sleigh bells in the sky.